Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admin, and the translation, it reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I want to confess that after I had slept with a rich Nigerian guy, that was when the guy told me that I do belong to the water spirits, in which I could not understand what he was trying to tell me. And he told me that I belong to the marine kingdom since birth, even though I never knew anything about the marine kingdom. I am a South African young woman, and I am staying here in Johannesburg, and you can call me a slave queen, but I do come from Mankweng. I was born and raised in Mankweng, which is in Limpopo, but now the problem is that I am trapped in this marine kingdom, even though I want to leave it, but I can't, because once I do that, my life can go really bad. This is how I left Mankweng, coming to Johannesburg. Like, things were not supposed to end up like this. When I came here, I was someone who knew what she was doing, and I wanted to return back as a winner. But somehow, things really changed when I left Mankweng and I came to Johannesburg. Like, I was raised in a strict Zion Christian church family, and when I got an internship at a company, my family was really proud. My mom forced me to pray and kept on reminding me that whatever happens, I should make sure that I will stay away from each and every temptation of the devil, never to go out and drink alcohol like with some other women. If I was going to get a boyfriend who goes to the same church in which I grew up going to, the ZCC, never date anyone else. That is what my mom told me, and never let the city change me. And I said it is okay. When I came here, I thought that it was easy. I would look for a church and I would go to my same old church, the ZCC church, and then if I was going to date a man that also does not like to drink alcohol, because at that time, even if I confess that I used to drink, but I would not drink like each and every weekend, just here and there, but I would do it without my mom knowing. Even if she would find me drunk, she would get so mad with me so much that I would regret it. And this was what I wanted to do when I came here, but then I became a slave queen. Like, I would focus on my work and my studies, but the problem was that my salary, as you all know, that the salary of an intern, it is always too little. You can never do anything with the salary that you will be getting as an intern. When you have never earned a salary in your life, you think that you can manage. When you look at the money on paper, you think that you are going to be able to manage. But once that money gets into your account, that is when you realize that you have nothing. The money that you are earning, it is too little. The rent that I was paying, it was too high. Transport was expensive. I also wanted to dress well. When I will go to work, I was supposed to look nice, but I could not do that because I did not have enough money, and I could not go out and experience life. That was when I met this other girl, a colleague, who then introduced me to a very different lifestyle that I never knew existed. I knew that there were other girls that were born to party. All that they care about is partying and partying, but not this girl. She was really different. Like, she partied too hard, even though she would work extra hard. She was always wearing beautiful designer clothes, and she was always driving around with different blessers, with beautiful cars, traveling. And then she said, "Oh, I can see that you still have that village mentality in you. But my dear, this city is not for broke people. You need to make sure that you know what you are doing, unless if you want everyone to look down upon you." So she took me out one Friday night, and that was when everything changed. We went to this other club in Sandton, and then when we were there, we met rich men that were willing to buy bottles of champagne as if they were buying for us mineral water. I had never seen so much money being spent like that. I never thought that people will spend so much money on one night, and the luxury that I saw there, it was just too much. That was when I met the guy who was going to change my life forever. This was a Nigerian businessman. So his friends and himself, he was calling like himself, Chief, I am Chief. And he was dressed in all white, and he had these beautiful gold necklaces and bracelets. That is what I liked about him. He did not look rich, but you could tell that this guy is rich. When he spoke, his friends, they would listen to him as he would be talking all night. And whenever he would be walking, his friends would act as if they were his bodyguards. And he bought us expensive drinks. And later on, when I started to get tipsy, that was when he whispered and he said, "Tonight, you are mine, you belong to me." I was nervous. First of all, I had never been with a Nigerian guy before. I had been with a foreign guy before, a guy from Zim, but never thought of being with a Nigerian. This was going to be a first for me. So we went to his penthouse. When we left the club, we went to his penthouse there in Santana again. And when we got inside, wow, it was really beautiful. I had never been in such a beautiful house before, but still there were things that could not make sense to me. Like when we stepped into the living room, I saw that there was a statue of a mermaid. Like, who the hell has a statue of a mermaid in their living room? It did not even make sense. Even this statue, it was as if it was alive. There was a fish tank, a big one that was there without fish inside. Just, you could tell that the water was like blue. I did not know that it was water that he had taken from the ocean. Then the room had a strong smell of the ocean. Yet I had never been nowhere near the sea, but I just smelled it like it was as if we were close to the ocean. And then he said, when we were in his bedroom after he had locked the door, and he said, "Come, sit here." I went and I sat right next to him, and he said, "Before we sleep together, before we do anything, I must tell you the truth." And I said, "You can tell me." And he was like, "You belong to the water. I knew you were going to come before I even met you. I saw you in my dreams. You are not an ordinary woman, like you belong to the water spirits." I laughed to his weird joke. He was a blesser after all, and I wanted him to give me some money. Like tomorrow, I wanted to borrow him some money because I was thinking about how empty my little fridge was, and I was just pretending, smiling, but in honesty, I did not even understand what he was talking about. And then that was when he said, "Your ancestors gave you to the marine kingdom. You were chosen before you were even born. That's why you would struggle for money whenever you would go to church." And that was when I remembered that indeed, Brother Nashi, when I was still growing up, there were funny things that used to happen. Like when we would go broke, all of a sudden someone would just give me money. But when we would go to church, like we would get so broke, and even if I'll be dating a guy that will be giving me money, that guy will stop giving me money. But when I stop going to church, then I'll start to meet a lot of people giving me money, men dating me, and then they would never complain when I would try to borrow money from them. And there was one thing as well, as a child, I was afraid of going close to a river. I never wanted to do that. And when it will rain, I'll get so scared, even if it is just normal rain without lightning and thunder. But I'll get so scared. And my mom will always be like, "What is wrong with you? Why are you so afraid whenever it is raining?" But I had this unnatural fear of rain, and I would have dreams of this other beautiful woman with long hair. I would see her standing in the water, calling out my name, wanting me to go into the water with him. That was the fear that I always had, that I could not explain, afraid of water. And then after that night, when we had slept together, he started spoiling me with money, and like he had promised me, he gave me one of his cars, and he said, "This one will belong to you." And he started taking me out, even went with me on a vacation, and I stopped working. Like now I was a full-time slave queen. He knew that there were other people that would take me out. He never even bothered or cared. And he also told me that if I ever found him with a woman, I should not create unnecessary drama. So more like an open relationship. And then slowly but surely, I forgot about Limpopo. I forgot about my family in Mankweng. And I started enjoying life, and it was really beautiful. Just sleeping, not doing anything as a slave queen. Then strange things started happening. One by one, my relatives, 3 of my relatives, they started losing their minds back home. The first one, he started talking to himself, and the other one, they said it was Nyaupe, and started eating from the dustbins. Then the other one, who is staying with one of my auntie in Liwa home, very violent. They always lock her in a room. So I was the one who started spreading like the rumors. I spoke with my friends. I was like, the reasons as to why they are getting crazy, it is because when you go to the ZCC church, when you stop going to that church, then they will pray for you so that you can lose your mind. But I was just lying. There is no such a thing. It was me, because I was hiding the rituals that this Nigerian guy was making me to do, and those were the rituals that were making my relatives to go mad. So everyone started believing in that rumors that if you go to a ZCC church, once you come out, like your mind, you become sort of like stupid, you'll be acting like crazy. And people were like, oh, that is what happens when you leave ZCC. But I knew the truth. It was a snake, a marine snake that had been given to me. Then there were people that started dying in the family. And when people started dying, people were wondering. But the first time when it happened, I woke up to a call from my mom. And she gave me the sad news. She was like, your auntie Lerato has passed away. Then a month later, another call, your auntie Maria is dead too. One by one, my aunties, they started dying. Within 2 years, 4 of them were buried. But there were those that were buried. There is this other cemetery. When you are traveling from Polokwane going to Liwa home, there is a cemetery there. That is where we buried some of my aunties. And all it was because of me, even though I used to convince myself that it was going to happen, but I know that it was all because of me. So one day I decided to visit this other church, a Pentecostal one. I said, instead of going to the ZCC, let me go to a Pentecostal one so that I don't get exposed so easily and God can forgive me slowly but surely. I do not want the prophets from ZCC to see that I have a snake. When I was entering that building of that Pentecostal church, that was when I felt there was someone who was trying to strangle me, as if that person was standing behind me and holding my throat and wanted to kill me. I ran outside, and that was when I was able to breathe again. Then that same night when I had returned back home, Chief called me and he said, if you go to a church, the problem is that you're going to lose everything and you will die. So just stop pretending that you are a Christian. You are no longer a Christian. You belong to the marine spirit. So I have never tried to go back, and worst of all, I feel so trapped. I really do not know, because the wealth that is being given to me by Chief, he told me that it can only last for 12 years. Then after 12 years, he said you will go to live in the water with the marine spirits like forever. I was like, how? He said, have you ever heard of people like that just disappear? Like you will just disappear from the face of the earth. People will think that maybe you are a victim of human trafficking. But the truth is that these marine spirits, after you would have enjoyed my money, they are going to come and take you with you to the marine kingdom where you belong, and you will stay there underneath the water like forever. So that is the curse that is following me, and I am scared. Sometimes in the middle of the night, my legs, they get so cold, freezing cold, like maybe I am inside the fridge. And he said, yes, that is the meaning of the marine spirits when your legs feels cold like that. I want to run back to God, but I can't. Dear listeners, right there was a narration of a message that was sent to me by one of our admin. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Let us try to speak with her in the comment section.